investment banking.
Let's say you got elected mayor. I mean, we're here in the inaugural theater for Mayor Emanuel, or president, or whatever. You're in a position to affect the economy in ways.
And by the way, if you all watch Sharknado 3, I am the president.
Well, then you've had some practice.
Yes, I have.
So you have the power to do anything that would make the world safer, easier for entrepreneurs. You could increase capital, you could make, you get rid of regulations. What would you do?
Deal with income inequality, because it's creating a risk factor that hurts everybody. If you have to worry about whether or not there's going to be riots or instability where your businesses are, that's an unquantifiable risk. I deal with patents. Every company's getting sued for patents for the most ridiculous, dumb shit ever. You know, I mean, I heard somebody say that in the 80s, when Apple had been in business for more than 10 years, they had one patent. You know, back in the day, people just competed. If you look at, Intel, when there were clones of Intel processors, there's, IBM clone Compaq or whatever, you couldn't do any of that today because of all the patent wars. So I would change that. I would simplify the administrivia to start a business. So there's just single forms. So you don't have to, apply in every municipality or pay taxes in every municipality. So, simplification would be key. But people talk about taxes as being there's no shortage of people wanting to start businesses, but there's a lot of things we could do.
Are there things that government does that get in the way of entrepreneurs? You
Rarely.
just mentioned one.
Rarely. Rarely. I mean, people are here because they're starting businesses. You can bitch about taxes too high, rent too damn high, whatever the case may be. It's not stopping anybody. Well, they may do things, the government
So the people who say that, you don't see that, and there are a lot of talking heads who say we've got to get government out of the way.
You guys are all entrepreneurs, right? Did y'all think about tax rates before you became an entrepreneur? One time?
Okay. Yeah, I guess
I withdraw my question.
Well, how about access to capital? That's a big problem. That's been a problem for a lot of people. Easy to raise money?
We just talked about there being people. Let me rephrase what I said earlier. Somebody is writing a check to some kids, or adult kids, 70-year-old kids, right? With an idea, not even a product yet, who isn't even really in business yet, valued their business at $8 million, and they gave them money knowing that they should immediately mark it down to zero. There's no shortage of capital, Now, part of the problem is, going back to government, in fact, if you've got no place else to put it to make money, that creates issues, right? I'm happy to pick on my buddies at the SEC, the idiots over there. Because of what they've done, every time they screw up, they don't catch Madoff, they don't catch Enron, there's an overreaction, and there's too many laws, too many regulations. So as a result, we've seen the number of public companies drop in half over the last 15 years, right? We've seen there's only been, 4 IPOs so far this year? Just think about that, right? It is literally crazy. All those people working for private companies that, 15, 20 years ago would have gone public with $25, $30, $40 million in revenue, that would have an opportunity to make more money. There would be investment opportunities that are liquid as opposed to throwing your money away, right? Those are gone because of the SEC, right? Yet, they want to sue people for insider trading. But put aside me, right? Because I just torched their ass. A guy said, this is what your SEC government dollars are doing. So there was a guy, I think it was in Illinois, a railroad company. He would go to work, and there were all these limousines that were pulling up. It's like, what are these limousines doing? We're in the middle of nowhere. It's a railroad company. He figures out there's a good chance someone's trying to buy my company. So he buys stock options on the company. That's all he did. SEC sued him for insider trading. The SEC's job is to make
Not because he knew something, but simply because he observed something.
Exactly. The SEC's job is supposed to be to make people trust the stock market more. This is CNBC. How many people here think the stock market is safer today than it was 10 years ago?
Yeah, not a lot of hands.
Right? That's all you need to know. So people, based off what the SEC is doing, nobody thinks the market's safer. Based off the number of IPOs, it's not easier to raise capital by a long shot, right? it's certainly not, there's not more confidence from the inside or out. So they've failed at everything that they're designed to do, and that has had a huge, huge impact on the economy. Every one of these companies, like 20 years ago when I was getting started, the end game was, hey, we might be able to go public. The number of IPOs priced at under $80 million, raising capital under $80 million, has dropped like 80% in 20 years. Now they're coming out with Reg A+, we'll see how that works, right? But they've screwed it up even more because now that's going to be crowdfunded, which means there's no liquidity. They're just, you know, if you get rid of the enforcement side of the SEC, I think the economy would boom. But you know, I'm happy to jump on them, but the reality is and maybe I misanswered your earlier question, we need to make it easier to go to the next level of capital raising, right? It's not so much what the government is doing, it's how the SEC has screwed it up because we don't have a natural progression. For all the entrepreneurs here, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there was a natural progression. Right? You didn't have to go out and keep on raising money privately. You knew that if you got to some level of profitability, or you knew that if you could create awareness and had a decent company, you could go public, raise $25 million, and that creates incremental capital available to you, and it also allows your employees to benefit. It creates more awareness for your company. There's just so many good things that can happen, but now there's just so many rules, regulations, and problems with it now. We've taken that whole segment of opportunity and the SEC has kicked it to the curb.